The Atari 2600 video game system and its new exciting games.
Lisa, from Apple. The future today.
Sony Walkman is a tiny stereo cassette player.
The 1980s were packed with wild inventions. Some ahead of their time, others just plain bizarre. But what happens when innovation misses the mark? From high-tech flops to marketing disasters, these products were supposed to change the world. So why did they vanish without a trace? Get ready to laugh, cringe, and wonder, what were they thinking? As we dive into 50 innovative products from the 80s that failed miserably.
Capacitance electronic disc, otherwise known as CED, was an early home video format developed by RCA.
The Radio Corporation of America had big hopes in 1981. They launched the Capacitance Electronic Disc, CED, a video disc system that looked like a record but played movies. It came in a plastic case, and you had to slide the whole thing into a player. It felt high-tech at the time, but there were problems from the start. The picture quality was not that great. It scratched easily, and even a little dust could mess up your movie. People expected better. Worse still, Video Home System and Betamax were already in homes, allowing recording, pausing, rewinding, and fast-forwarding. The capacitance electronic disc could only play, nothing more. The Radio Corporation of America spent years developing it, but by the time it launched, the world had moved on. Sales were low, and the company discontinued it after just a few years. Great idea, wrong time. IBM wanted to bring computers into people's homes. In 1984, they launched the P. It looked nice and had some cool features, but it didn't go well. The biggest issue was its keyboard. It was small and hard to type on. People even called it the chiclet keyboard because the keys looked like little gum pieces. It felt cheap and didn't match IBM's name. Another problem was compatibility. Many popular personal computer programs didn't work right on it. That confused users and made the PCJR hard to trust. It also cost too much for a home computer, especially one that didn't work like people expected. Buyers got frustrated fast. IBM tried to fix things, but the damage was done. Sales were bad. They stopped making it just over a year later. A strong name couldn't save a weak product. If you think IBM missed the mark, wait till you see what Kodak did with film in the next entry. Check this Kodak Disc 4000. Apple released the Macintosh Portable in 1989, hoping to start a new trend in portable computing. But at 16 pounds, it was far from easy to carry. While it had a full keyboard and a decent screen, users quickly ran into issues. The battery life was poor, and sometimes the computer wouldn't turn on unless the battery was fully charged. It also came with a high price tag. Most people couldn't afford it, and those who could felt it didn't offer enough value. Apple aimed to lead the portable market, but the product fell short. It was too heavy, too pricey, and didn't meet expectations.
Ladies and gentlemen, behold, Colgate frozen lasagna.
In the 1980s, Colgate made a move no one saw coming. The toothpaste giant decided to launch its own frozen food line. One of the products was Colgate Lasagna. The idea behind it was simple. Colgate already had strong brand recognition. They thought people would trust their name on food too, but that trust didn't carry over. Consumers saw the Colgate label and thought of minty toothpaste, not a warm meal. The mix of food and hygiene branding was just too strange. Most people were put off immediately. They couldn't imagine eating something linked to brushing their teeth. The lasagna flopped hard. People didn't buy it, and stores didn't want to stock it. Colgate quickly pulled it from the market. It remains one of the strangest product choices ever. Now, let's talk about the McDLT, when McDonald's tried giving you homework along with your burger.
Lifesaver. This is Karen sucking her thumb, and this is her brother trying to get her to stop.
Lifesavers decided to turn their popular candy into a drink in the 1980s. The idea was to give fans the same sweet flavor in liquid form. On paper, it sounded fun and colorful. The company hoped that people would love sipping on a soda that tasted just like their favorite treat. But the reality didn't go so well. The soda was way too sweet. Most people found it hard to drink more than a few sips. What worked in candy didn't work in a drink. The flavor was too strong and didn't feel refreshing. Even with its bright branding and recognizable name, the product didn't catch on. Stores pulled it from shelves, and the company dropped the idea. It became another reminder that not everything sweet belongs in a bottle.
Pepsi's got your taste for life.
In 1989, Pepsi thought people might want soda instead of coffee in the morning. So they made Pepsi AM, with more caffeine than regular Pepsi. It was made for people who didn't like coffee but still wanted a boost to start their day. The idea was bold, and the name sounded strong and energizing. But even with such a powerful name, it didn't work. Most people just weren't ready to drink soda with breakfast. It didn't taste much different either, so there wasn't a good reason to buy it. Pepsi AM faded fast and was quietly pulled from shelves. Next, let's look at one of the weirdest cars from the 1980s. Nissan's bold yet confusing Pulsar. Sportback.
Making gameplay like this possible simply by adding a computer keyboard.
Discover Intellivision. It can change your family.
In 1980, Mattel promised to turn its Intellivision game system into a full computer with the new keyboard component. It was packed with features like a tape drive, microphone, and extra memory. But things quickly went wrong. The product kept getting delayed and didn't hit test markets until late 1981. It finally launched in early 1982 in just a few cities for a high price of $600. Worse, it had almost no working software. Customers were upset, and the government started looking into it.
The DeLorean. Gull-wing doors rise effortlessly, beckoning you inside.
The DeLorean DMC-12 looked like something straight out of the future. It had stainless steel panels and cool gull-wing doors. When it appeared in the movie Back to the Future, it became a pop culture icon. But the real car was far from perfect. Its engine was weak, and its speed didn't match its sporty look. Drivers were let down by how it performed on the road. It also cost more than many better-performing cars. Inside, it didn't feel high-end or special. The company rushed production, and quality suffered. Sales stayed low. Fewer than 9,000 cars were made before the company went bankrupt. Even though the DMC-12 is still remembered today, it failed in the market. It was a car that looked amazing, but didn't drive that way. The dream was big, but the reality didn't match up.
The Commodore Amiga 500, the future of computing for the home, personal education, creative applications, and the business environment.
The Amiga was one of the most advanced home computers of its time. Launched in 1985, it had amazing graphics, sound, and multitasking features that were perfect for games, animation, and video work. But the computers had problems that held them back. They lacked memory protection, so programs could crash easily. The early models needed multiple boot disks just to start, and software support was weak. Later versions, like the Amiga 600, removed useful features and confused buyers. While the Amiga had brilliant tech, it was often hard to use, underpowered, or unfinished. These flaws made people turn to simpler, more reliable personal computers.
Introducing the RCA Video Disc Player, the extraordinary machine that plays records you watch on your TV.
The Radio Corporation of America, RCA, launched the video disc system in 1981, hoping to lead the future of home video. The system played movies on large vinyl-like discs using a special needle. It looked high-tech but had big problems. The discs were easy to scratch and got dirty fast. Worse, the system couldn't record or rewind like video home system tapes. Just months earlier, the video home system hit the market and quickly offered more convenience and better value. RCA didn't see the shift coming. Sales were poor, and by 1984, the video disc was gone. What was meant to be RCA's next big thing ended up helping sink the company. In 1988, ViewMaster tried to bring television and video games together with the interactive vision. This video home system-based console let kids watch shows with characters like The Muppets, Sesame Street, and Disney favorites, while using a joystick and buttons to make choices. It even had 2 soundtracks and interactive video overlays to give players the feeling they were part of the story. Sounds cool, right? But it was too limited. It needed a video cassette recorder, had clunky gameplay, and felt more like a toy than a real console. Competing systems like the Nintendo Entertainment System were miles ahead. Despite its fun idea, it didn't catch on and quickly faded from memory.
To the greatest sports performance shoe in the world, the Reebok Pump. Pump up and air out.
Reebok launched the Pump shoes in 1989 to offer something new and high-tech. The sneakers had an inflatable system that let users pump air into the tongue for a custom fit. It was exciting and caught attention fast, especially after the National Basketball Association star Dee Brown wore them in a dunk contest. But the excitement didn't last. The shoes were expensive, and the pump feature didn't actually improve performance much. Competitors like Nike focused on real athletic performance, while Reebok's tech started to feel like a gimmick. Over time, interest faded, and the pump became more of a fashion memory than a success.
Now, Timex brings the power of the computer within reach of more people than ever before. Introducing the Timex Sinclair 1000.
The Timex Sinclair 1000 was launched in 1982 as one of the most affordable home computers ever. Priced under $100, it aimed to bring computing to the masses. It featured a black and white display, 2 kilobytes of random access memory, a membrane keyboard, and used cassette tapes for programs. Despite the low price, it had many flaws. It was slow, limited, and hard to use. The keyboard frustrated users, and most useful software needed extra memory. Competitors like the Commodore 64 offered more power and better features. Even a 16-kilobyte version couldn't save it. Though it sold well at first, the computer quickly fell behind and faded from the market.
How fast is the new Isuzu Impulse Turbo? How does 950 miles per hour sound?
In 1983, Isuzu rolled out a sporty-looking coupe with a futuristic twist. It could talk. Literally. The car came equipped with voice alerts that chimed in with lines like, "Your door is ajar." At first, it felt like something straight out of a sci-fi flick, and drivers were intrigued. But the novelty wore off fast. The robotic voice repeated the same phrases so often that it went from cool to downright irritating. Worse still, beneath all the techie charm was a car that didn't quite deliver on performance. It looked sporty, but drove like a letdown. The handling felt average, the engine lacked punch, and competitors were better. In the end, no amount of computerized nagging could distract from the fact that the Impulse wasn't the thrilling ride it promised to be. Sales dropped, and so did interest.
Introducing the RCA Video Disc Player, the extraordinary machine that plays records you watch on your TV.
Picture a world where watching movies felt like queuing up a vinyl record. Delicate discs, a tiny needle, and hopes of magical playback. RCA's bold vision promised a video system that read grooves with a stylus, offering sharper images than tapes. In reality, those discs snapped like brittle cookies, players hummed like overworked toasters, and skipping scenes felt literal. Every bump risked a jump. Shoppers scratched their heads as this clunky gizmo hit shelves when VHS and Laserdisc were speeding ahead. Behind the scenes, funds vanished in a format charmingly retro, but too fragile. By 1984, after hundreds of millions went poof, RCA pulled the plug. Now, it's a quirky party anecdote, a reminder that mixing old tricks with new tech can backfire. No one wants movies played with a needle. Hold on for what's next. A cooking item that looked handy but hid unexpected hazards.
Your attention, please. Here's a very special three-piece set offer from T-Fal. Each pan has a non-stick coating on the outside, and on the inside, a T-Plus coating with super slidability.
Digital audio tape, DAT, or DAT as it's more commonly referred to, was brought to the market by Sony in 1987.
Audio wizards and studio folks wanted CD-quality sound and editing power, so a tape format tried to deliver. Enter digital audio tape, promising crystal-clear recordings and take-it-anywhere convenience that had pros nodding in approval. But the gear and tapes cost a small fortune, so every day, music lovers gave it a pass. Add worries about copy protection and a slow-growing catalog, and it felt like an exclusive club nobody asked to join. By the time prices dropped, hard drive recorders and fresh digital formats made life simpler. DAT found cozy spots in labs and archives but never spiced up living rooms. It proved that good timing, reasonable cost, and wide support matter. Still, its tech seeds sprouted in later gear. Next up, a beverage tweak that stirred strong emotions across the nation.
The Sinclair C5, £399. Want to buy one? Want to see one? Or simply want to read all about it?
A low-speed vehicle promised a fresh take on city commutes, aiming to cut emissions and shrink parking headaches. That idea took shape in the Sinclair C5, a one-person electric trike with a futuristic look. Underpowered climbs and limited range made daily use tricky, and riders felt exposed to weather and traffic risks. Charging spots were scarce, and roads weren't built for slow-moving craft. Early excitement gave way to caution as practicality fell short. The lesson: bright ideas need real-world testing and support systems. Enthusiasts still admire the innovation, but mass adoption never arrived. Home movie buffs craved sharper pictures and richer sound, and a new disc format answered the call. That was Laserdisc, developed by American engineer David Paul Gregg, bringing better clarity than tapes and sometimes extra features like director commentary. Discs were large and players bulky, and prices for players and titles ran high. Recording shows wasn't an option, so convenience leaned back toward tapes. Collectors loved it for niche libraries, but most viewers stuck with budget-friendly rentals. As DVDs and digital formats emerged later, this disc faded further. Yet, it proved audiences cared about quality even if the timing or cost wasn't right. Keep watching for another case of a home computer flop that stumbled over user experience.
Where solid-state devices contribute to your confidence in the set you buy.
Reach out for Quasar!
Imagine wanting to record your favorite shows without piling extra boxes and wires around the living room. That was the pitch behind the Quasar Great Time Machine TV, a mouthful of a name for a TV with a built-in VCR and digital timer. One device, one remote, fewer spaghetti cables. Sounds like a dream, right? But here's where it rewinds. It cost more than buying a separate TV and VCR, and when the VCR broke, the whole thing was toast unless you shelled out a fortune to fix it. And if you liked upgrades? Tough luck, swapping out one part wasn't an option. People stuck with their old-school setups instead. It turns out that cramming two gadgets into one only works if both parts actually behave. Now, cue a format that had audio files buzzing, but hardly anyone listening. A brand known for baby food-launched meals for adults flying solo. The pitch: single people could grab ready-to-eat options from a trusted name. But seeing jars and labels that evoked baby meals prompted confusion. The idea felt odd. Adults didn't want to eat food linked in their minds to infants. Even if recipes were adjusted, the mental image stuck. Marketing tried to highlight convenience, but the association with baby feeding won over. Retailers found low demand, and the line faded fast. It underlines how strong associations can block acceptance, especially when product image clashes with consumer self-view. Sometimes a catchy angle can backfire when trust meets unexpected territory.
This cigarette will
treat you to a smoke with a cleaner taste, a cleaner aroma, a cleaner feel. Premier, the cleaner smoke.
A tobacco company introduced a heated tobacco product to cut smoke, aiming to offer a cleaner way to get nicotine. Early users hoped for less odor and harm, but the taste was disappointing. The harsh, odd flavors turned many off. Performance fell short, too. Devices were clunky, and heating systems were unreliable. Marketing tried to stress safety, but the feel and flavor mattered more. At a time when smokers had few alternatives, this version didn't satisfy. High costs and a super cheap import hit U.S. roads, promising low-cost rides. The name suggested an affordable entry to car ownership. Early buyers got a basic design with minimal frills. However, reports soon noted poor build quality. Engines and parts failed more often than expected. Service networks were sparse, making repairs a chore. Safety and performance lagged behind competitors, leading to buyer regret. Even a low price couldn't outweigh the ongoing costs and worries. Word spread quickly, and many owners moved on to more reliable options. It highlighted that initial savings can vanish when upkeep demands rise. The case reminds us that in automobiles, long-term reliability often matters more than a tempting sticker price.
Renault Alliance with comfort for 5. And now introducing Alliance Convertible. Renault Alliance, fuel-injected, fuel-efficient.
A collaboration between a European maker and an American giant aimed at a budget-friendly, stylish small car. The initial buzz praised fuel efficiency and the roomy feel of its class. Over time, reliability concerns emerged. Electronics, engine hiccups, and rust issues showed up in owner reports. Dealers struggled to keep parts stocked, and warranties sometimes fell short of expectations. Buyers who hoped for a bargain faced extra service trips. Marketing touted value, but uneven quality undercut that promise. Still, the model taught lessons about cross-border projects, aligning design, manufacturing, and support matters. Even well-intended partnerships can stumble without consistent quality control. It stands as a reminder to vet real-world durability, not just initial appeal.
Touch of yogurt, get the touch.
Now, Clairol's put yogurt with natural organic protein.
A beauty brand famous for hair color branched into shampoo infused with yogurt bits, touting extra nourishment. The packaging featured images suggesting creamy goodness. However, hoppers confuse it with edible yogurt or mixed products. Some paused in aisles, unsure if it belonged in the kitchen or the bathroom. Even after sampling, the idea felt strange. Food imagery on hair care created mixed messages. Though formulas promised soft hair, the mental link to eating made it hard to embrace. Marketing struggled to clarify benefits without dwelling on the odd combo. Ultimately, the line faded as consumers stuck with clear, familiar shampoos. It underlines that strong visuals must match the product category to avoid confusion. Here's a reminder: clarity often beats clever mashups. In 1988, someone thought, what if we mixed a VHS player with a video game console for kids? Thus, the ViewMaster Interactive Vision was born, a plastic box of high hopes and low follow-through. Released in the US in 1989, it let kids interact with shows like Sesame Street by pressing buttons during playback. Sounds futuristic, right? In practice, the choices barely changed anything. The controller felt like a clunky TV remote, and let's be honest, Elmo wasn't exactly taking orders. The graphics? Well, it was a VHS, not a PlayStation. The novelty wore off fast, and after a few tries, kids were back to their action figures or regular cartoons. ViewMaster had hoped to change how children watched TV. Instead, they created the tech world's equivalent of a choose-your-own nap time. Quietly discontinued, loudly forgotten.
Introducing the world's first 6.5-pound all-in-one camera video recorder from Sony. No wires, no bulky recorder.
Back in 1983, Sony tried to shake things up with a bold idea. They released the Beta Movie Recorder. It was one of the first camcorders where the camera and recorder were in one body. No wires, no heavy setups, just point and shoot. Sounds cool, right? But here's the problem. It was recorded on Betamax tapes. That format looked great, but didn't last long. Most people went for the video home system because it lets you record longer. And unlike other camcorders, this one didn't even let you watch your video right after filming. You had to wait until you got home and played it on a Betamax player. Not fun. Also, the price was no joke. It cost a lot, and people weren't ready to pay that much. So, even with its fresh design, it lost the race to video home system. Sony had big dreams, but Betamovie just couldn't keep up.
With the new Atari Artist program and this simple little device, you draw here, and it comes out there. No typing and no programming.
Atari introduced the CX77 touch tablet in 1984. It was a drawing pad that let users create art on their television screens. The tablet came with a stylus and the Atari Artist software, offering 128 colors and various patterns. Users could draw, erase, and even trace images placed under a clear overlay. Despite its creative potential, the tablet didn't catch on. One major issue was the lack of additional software support. Beyond Atari Artist, there weren't many programs that utilized the tablet. This limited its functionality and appeal. Another issue was user interest. Most people used computers for games or basic tasks, and digital art was still new. Few saw the need for a drawing tablet, and it also required a separate program recorder to save artwork, adding complexity. The CX77 Touch tablet was ahead of its time. It offered a glimpse into digital creativity, but lacked the support and audience to succeed.
PC Junior from IBM, the computer that's growing by leaps and bounds.
The Kodak disc camera has automatic film advance. It's so fast you don't have to miss a leap, a flip, or a dip.
Kodak launched the Disc 4000 in 1982, hoping to change how people took photos. It was small, easy to carry, and simple to use. You just popped in a round disc of film and clicked away. At first, people liked the new style, but the photos told a different story. The images were fuzzy and dark. The tiny negatives on the disc couldn't capture clear details. That was a big letdown. Even though the camera looked modern, the picture quality ruined its chances. People didn't want to keep memories that looked bad. Photoshops also didn't love processing disc film. It added more hassle for them. Kodak pushed the idea for a while, but it never caught on. The Disc 4000 faded fast, and Kodak had to move on.
Maybe this computer's different.
Macintosh has the power to change the way you feel about computers.
Hold it. Do not buy your family a computer until you compare Atom, today's complete computer system, only $499.
Coleco released the Atom computer in 1983, hoping to turn its video game success into a home computer win. The plan looked good on paper. The system came with a printer, a word processor, and a digital data drive. It even worked with ColecoVision games, but things went wrong fast. Many units arrived dead right out of the box. Others broke within days. The printer, which powered the whole system, was loud and unreliable. If it failed, the computer wouldn't even start. Coleco rushed the release to catch the holiday season, but that rush led to sloppy hardware and angry buyers. Software support was weak too. People returned the machines and lost trust in the brand. Coleco hoped to enter the computer market strong, but the Atom's problems crushed that dream before it even began.
Did you hear about McDonald's new McDLT?
It could be the best tasting lettuce and tomato hamburger ever.
'Cause the hot stays hot
and the cool stays cool.
The McDLT was McDonald's attempt to offer a fresher burger by keeping the hot and cold parts separate. Lettuce and tomato went on one side of a large styrofoam box, while the patty stayed on the other. Customers had to put it together themselves. While the taste was fine, the packaging caused problems. It was bulky, wasteful, and used a lot of styrofoam at a time when people were becoming more environmentally aware. Many didn't like the extra trash or the extra work. People wanted quick, ready-to-eat meals, not do-it-yourself burgers. The Mac DLT quietly vanished and is now remembered mostly for its odd, wasteful design.
This cigarette will treat you to a smoke with a cleaner taste, a cleaner aroma, a cleaner feel. Premier, the cleaner smoke.
In the late 1980s, R.J. Reynolds spent millions to create a smokeless cigarette called Premier. Instead of burning tobacco, it heated it, aiming to offer a cleaner way to smoke. But smokers disliked it. The taste was poor, the feel was odd, and the smell wasn't pleasant. It also looked strange, making people uncomfortable using it in public. The company spent around $325 million on the project, but it failed quickly. Stores couldn't sell it, and users weren't interested. R.J. Reynolds pulled it from the market, losing a huge sum. Premier is now remembered as one of the costliest product failures in tobacco history.
Introducing the all-new 87 Nissan Pulsar NX.
Pulsar NX!
The Nissan Pulsar NX Sportback tried to be two cars in one. With its modular rear hatch, drivers could switch between a sporty coupe and a mini wagon. It was a bold, futuristic idea, but it didn't click with buyers. The design looked strange, and the extra cost for the Sportback option didn't help. People were confused by its purpose. Was it fun, practical, or both? Sales stayed low, and the model disappeared quickly. While it stood out, it became more of a novelty than a success. Nissan took a risk, but the market just wasn't ready for it.
The Sinclair C5, £399. Want to buy one? Want to see one? Or simply want to read all about it?
The Sinclair C5 was a small, one-person electric vehicle launched in 1985. It resembled a mix between a go-kart and a bike, powered by a regular battery. Designed as a cheap and clean way to get around town, it faced criticism for its strange appearance and a maximum speed of only 15 miles per hour. Its low profile made drivers feel unsafe, especially around larger cars, and poor weather protection added to the problems. Despite being an early attempt at electric transport, the vehicle failed to attract buyers, and the company ceased production after just 1 year. Coming up is a computer that wowed everyone with its power and graphics, but still couldn't survive. Let's talk about the rise and fall of the Amiga computers.
You really feel the music with the Sony Walkman?
The Sony Walkman is a tiny stereo cassette player with truly incredible sound.
The Sony Walkman changed how people listened to music in the 1980s. It made music portable. You could clip it to your belt and listen on the go. It was a huge hit. Everyone wanted one. The sound was good, and the design was cool, but Sony got stuck in the past. As the world moved toward digital music, the company hesitated. Other brands started making MP3 players. Then Apple launched the iPod and took over the market. Sony had the tech to compete, but it didn't act fast enough. Instead of leading the digital shift, Sony held on to old systems. Their music software was clunky and hard to use. By the time they reacted, it was too late. The Walkman lost its place in music history. The brand that once ruled portable music fell behind.
I'd like the most popular home video game system ever.
Ah, the system you want is the Atari 2600.
The Atari 2600 was one of the first home video game consoles and became a huge success in the early 1980s. Games like Space Invaders and Pitfall made it very popular. But soon, things went wrong. Atari rushed to release bad games like E.T., which was confusing and hard to play. Pac-Man also looked and felt nothing like the arcade version. On top of that, too many companies made cheap, boring games. Stores were filled with junk, and people stopped buying. Atari lost trust and money fast. What started as a gaming revolution ended with failure and piles of unsold games buried in the ground. Think the Viewmaster was just for photos? In 1988, it tried to jump into gaming, and things got weird fast.
I'm Steve Jobs, and I make computers. It's called Next Station. It's a slab, monitor, keyboard, the mouse, the software.
After Steve Jobs left Apple, he introduced the next computer in 1988. It looked futuristic and had powerful features like advanced graphics, a built-in digital signal processor, and Next Step software. It was meant for schools and researchers, but the $6,500 price tag made it too expensive. It also didn't support popular software, so few people bought it. Despite the failure, it made a mark. Tim Berners-Lee used a Next computer to create the first web browser. In the end, it was a great idea that didn't sell, becoming more of a tech legend than a market success.
PXL 2000 video system. Now you can be seen and heard.
The PXL 2000 was a toy video camera released by Fisher-Price in 1987. It recorded grainy black and white footage onto standard cassette tapes. It seemed futuristic, especially for kids, and could even capture sound. But it had a big problem. It was expensive. Priced around $179, many parents skipped it. Kids didn't find much use for its low-quality video, and sales flopped. The product vanished after 1 year. Still, artists later rediscovered it for its gritty aesthetic. Indie filmmakers praised its strange, dreamlike video style. It became a niche cult favorite in film circles. But as a mass-market toy, it failed fast. High price, unclear purpose, and low appeal to children made it one of the most unusual flops of the 1980s. To close things out, let's look at one of the cheapest computers ever made and why it still failed.
Get a Sony Betamax video recorder and automatically videotape that show while you're doing something else and watch it anytime you want.
Back in the 1980s, the battle for home video saw a tape format promising sharper images and sturdy players built to last for movie nights. Known for crisp playback, Sony Betamax drew in fans eager for high-quality viewing. Yet, recording long shows meant swapping cassettes mid-movie, a real buzzkill when the plot thickened. Strict licensing kept fewer makers in the game, so deck and tape choices stayed limited. Rental shelves stocked more of the competing format, offering wider picks for weekend binges. Even loyal users found that a top-notch picture wasn't enough to beat the hassle and higher costs. Before long, many Betamax units sat unused, collecting dust in living rooms. It shows that clever tech alone can't win when ease, choice, and timing carry the day.
Meet the lady. Her name is Lisa, and she's the most exciting thing to happen in computers today.
Back in the day, some computers looked like props from a sci-fi movie, promising to rewrite how people did tasks. One such dream machine offered a graphical interface and mouse long before most PCs caught up. But the sticker shock? It was so high it made buyers gulp. Families and small offices shook their heads, opting for cheaper boxes with plenty of apps. Even offices admired the sleek shape and fancy features, but winced at the cost and lack of software options. Excitement about its futuristic vibe turned into a shrug. Maybe later, when prices drop. Wallets quietly sobbed behind closed doors. The lesson? Being cool and ahead of its time only wins if price and a solid lineup of apps tag along. Otherwise, it stays a museum piece in memories. Non-stick pan seemed like a kitchen dream. Eggs and pancakes sliding out clean, scrubbing almost vanished. Early models used a special coating hailed as a modern miracle. Over time, studies revealed that making those slick surfaces relied on chemicals that, when overheated, could release fumes with health concerns. Factory workers faced exposure risks during production, and home cooks noticed coating flakes after heavy use, finding bits in meals. News reports and user worries prompted shifts toward safer options like ceramic or seasoned steel. Brands updated processes and warned against high-heat cooking without ventilation. This case shows that a breakthrough can mask hidden downsides until real-world use and research expose them. It reminds us to weigh ease against potential long-term effects before embracing every new miracle tool.
Introducing the great new taste of Coca-Cola. The best tasting Coke in the history of ever.
Back in 1985, A big soda company decided to sweeten its signature drink to chase rivals. Early taste tests gave a thumbs up, so the new formula rolled out as New Coke. But when people opened fridges and found the old flavor missing, pandemonium broke out. Phone lines jammed, protests popped up, and water cooler talk turned into heated debates over fizz. Suddenly, changing a recipe felt like treason. Within a few months, the original recipe roared back as Coca-Cola Classic. Sales bounced like a rubber ball, teaching a textbook lesson. Mess with a beloved flavor at your own risk. Today, New Coke lives on as a case study in balancing daring ideas with loyal fans because sometimes nostalgia packs more punch than extra sugar. Next time you tweak a classic, brace for drama.
Everything else is child's play.
A bold concept promised hands-on control without a standard controller, looking like it belonged in a sci-fi flick. That accessory was the Mattel Power Glove, offering lights and buttons on a wearable device. Once players tried it, they found sensor responses were off, and moves felt laggy. Games weren't built around its quirks, so gestures often missed the mark. Hype soared in ads, and it earned a spot in pop culture, but real gameplay led to fumbling and frustration. Still, it pushed designers to explore new interaction ideas. The experiment fell short, yet it influenced future motion controls. Coming soon, a home video format that also struggled to win over crowds.
The latest and greatest movies are on Laserdisc at Video and Sound downtown. For about the same price as the new VCR, you can enjoy movies the way they were meant to be seen.
PC Junior from IBM, the computer that's growing by leaps and bounds.
Families and hobbyists in the 80s were on the hunt for that perfect home computer, something smart, friendly, and fun. Enter the IBM PCJR, introduced in 1984, a machine wearing a very famous badge. With the IBM name stamped proudly on the front, expectations were sky high. But then came the reality check. A squishy, rubbery keyboard that made typing feel like playing with a soggy sponge. And don't get us started on the wireless keyboard. It looked futuristic, but only worked when it felt like it. Software support? Pretty thin. Developers are stuck with the big league PCs. Meanwhile, other brands offered more fun, better features, and fewer headaches. IBM hoped its reputation would carry the PCJR to glory, but it turned out even giants can trip. In the end, the Junior lived up to its name, small and quickly forgotten. A snack giant tried to quench thirst with its lemonade. The idea, fans of salty chips might pick up a cold drink from the same name they trust. Yet, when shoppers saw lemonade on shelves bearing a chipmaker's logo, many paused. Expectations didn't match reality. People wanted familiar drinks, not something tied to crunchy snacks. Taste tests weren't enough to overcome the odd pairing in the mind. Distribution leaned on snack channels, not beverage experts, so marketing felt off. Ultimately, a few refilled cups with that lemonade. It shows that trust in one area doesn't always move smoothly into another. Up next is a product that is aimed at a surprising crowd in an even stranger way. Stay tuned for that twist.
One of the biggest product fails ever has to be Gerber's Singles.
Did you hear about McDonald's new McDLT?
It could be the best tasting lettuce and tomato hamburger ever! 'Cause the hot stays hot and the cool stays cool.
A fast food chain rolled out a burger with separate compartments. One side kept the patty hot and the other held cooler toppings. Packaging aimed to keep each part at the right temperature until assembly. It sounded clever, but the extra wrapping and box felt bulky and wasteful. In practice, wrapping slowed kitchen flow and added cost, and customers didn't love juggling parts. Environmental concerns over packaging piled up later. Meanwhile, simpler burgers served quickly held appeal. The concept taught that convenience and speed often outweigh a neat idea. Even a beloved chain can misjudge what diners really want. The memory lives on as a lesson in balancing novelty with ease and waste reduction. Low uptake led to a quick exit. Still, it marked a first step in exploring smoke-free options. Though flawed, it paved the way for later attempts with better tech and taste, teaching that user experience is key in complex markets.
The DeLorean. Gull-wing doors rise effortlessly, beckoning you inside.
A sleek car with gull-wing doors grabbed attention, boosted by a hit movie. Its stainless steel body and futuristic shape looked exciting. Yet, under the hood, quality woes surfaced. Mechanical issues, limited dealer support, and high costs to fix problems. Production delays and funding troubles meant fewer cars reached drivers. Buyers faced spotty parts availability and service headaches. Despite its eye-catching design, reliability gaps hurt its reputation. The company's financial troubles added to the story, making maintenance and resale tricky. Still, the car gained cult status over time thanks to its looks and pop culture fame. But at launch, it showed that style needs solid engineering and backing. The lesson? Build reliability before leaning on glamour. But what happens when affordability takes the driver's seat, but quality never even gets in the car?
In 1986, thousands of people bought a Yugo GV as an affordable first car, and thousands of families bought it as a dependable second car.
No other car offers it, foreign or domestic, only Cadillac. It's the exclusive new V8 6.4 fuel injection.
A luxury brand rolled out an engine that could deactivate cylinders to save fuel under light load, switching between 8, 6, or 4 cylinders. The idea aimed to combine power with efficiency. But early systems lacked smooth transitions. Drivers felt jolts or odd shifts as cylinders turned off or on. Electronics struggled to manage the changes reliably. Maintenance costs climbed as complexity added failure points. Consumers expecting silky performance found rough spots instead. Despite engineering ambition, the tech wasn't ready for daily drives. The effort illustrated that promising systems need thorough testing before hitting showrooms. While later engines achieved cylinder deactivation more smoothly, this early version showed the pitfalls of pushing innovation too fast without flawless execution.
Laser tag, the game that moves at the speed of light.
In the mid-'80s, kids could finally live out their space commando dreams, minus the actual danger. Laser tag arrived like a sci-fi miracle. Infrared blasters, chest sensors that lit up when you got hit, and battles that turned backyards into action movie sets. For a while, it was an all-out war in suburban cul-de-sacs. But while the tech was ahead of its time, the company behind it, Worlds of Wonder, got a little too excited. They expanded too fast, stocked too much, and faceplanted financially by 1988. Laser tag itself was solid fun, but the empire around it collapsed faster than a kid hiding behind a bush yelling, "You missed." It's a classic case of a cool toy, but it's a bad business plan. Game over.
Hi, my name is Teddy Ruxpin. I want you to meet my friend.
Launched in 1985, Teddy Ruxpin wasn't just a cuddly bear. It talked, blinked, and read stories right out of a cassette in its back. As kids flipped through matching storybooks, Teddy's mouth and eyes moved in sync, creating a magical storytelling experience. With tapes available in multiple languages and over 60 tales to choose from, it felt like a bedtime buddy with personality. But magic came at a price, around $100, batteries not included, plus the cost of extra tapes and books. Still, it dominated toy sales in 1985 and 1986, even getting its cartoon. Then, just before Christmas in 1987, its distributor, World of Wonder, went bankrupt. The talking bear that once charmed millions suddenly went silent, ending one of the decade's most memorable toy fads.